Tonight, 59 new COVID-19 cases and 14 deaths recorded yesterday, taking the country's pandemic totals to 49,090 cases and 988 deaths. Ministry of Local Government announces Rick's Cafe in Negril has been given permission to reopen its doors 1 week after it was ordered closed due to breaches of the COVID-19 protocols.
They obtained the license and therefore the decision was taken to reopen the establishment. And I want to make the point.
Still tonight, persons 60 years and over who are fully vaccinated can apply for the conditional cash transfer for the vaccinated CCTV grant starting July 15, 2021.
It is in the public interest, therefore, Madam Speaker, that this segment of the population that is vulnerable to COVID-19 is fully vaccinated. Madam Speaker, through the Serve Jamaica program, we intend to build on the CARE program infrastructure to provide an incentive for those persons 60 and over to become fully vaccinated.
And clinical coordinator at the Cornwall Regional Hospital, CRH in St. James, Dr. Delroy Free, says persons that are fully vaccinated should still observe all health protocols.
My view about this is that if you are fully vaccinated, you have had your second dose, 2 weeks have passed, you still should observe all the protocols.
Good evening. Jamaica recorded 59 new cases of COVID-19 yesterday, as well as 14 deaths, taking the country's pandemic totals now to 49,090 cases and 988 deaths. According to reports from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the new cases comprise 30 females and 29 males ranging in age from 2 months to 97 years. The breakdown by parish shows Kingston and St. Andrew with 25 cases, Manchester recorded 10 cases, St. Catherine 8, while St. Thomas recorded 4 cases, St. Elizabeth and St. Anne each recorded 3 cases, St. James and Clarendon follow with 2 cases each, while St. Mary and Trelawney recorded 1 case each. The deaths are of a male and a female from Kingston and St. Andrew, a male from Manchester, a male from St. Thomas, 8 females and a male from St. James, whose death was previously listed as under investigation, and a male from Manchester, whose death was previously listed as under investigation as well. Currently, the country has 20,900 active cases after 187 recoveries, taking the total of recoveries to 26,828. In other news tonight, the Ministry of Local Government has announced that the Negril entertainment spot Rick's Cafe has been given permission to reopen its doors a week after it was ordered closed due to breaches of the COVID-19 protocols. Rick's Cafe hosted the Mocha Fest party with hundreds of persons in attendance in contravention of the Disaster Risk Management Order. At the time of the closure, Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie said Rick's Cafe would have to undergo recertification. During today's post-cabinet press briefing, Minister McKenzie said during a meeting with the business operators, it emerged that Rick's Cafe's places of amusement license had expired.
Let me remind the country that following the incident of a illegal party which was hosted by Rick's Cafe, the decision was taken to close the establishment for 7 days. I want to point out that that is the protocol that we have been observing since March last year. When offenses are committed, we would close the establishment. The management of Rick's Cafe was invited to a meeting along with the Westmoreland and the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management. We met with the management last week, Friday, and following the investigations that was done, it was discovered that Ritz Cafe was operating without a place of amusement license, which is a requirement for them to operate.
The minister said the business was already certified by the Jamaica Fire Brigade and the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
They were in compliance with the certification from the Jamaica Fire Brigade and from the public health body in Westmoreland. We extended the closure of Ritz Cafe for another 4 days and advised them that it is important that they obtain the necessary license in terms of the places of amusement license. They applied to the Westmoreland Municipal Corporation, presenting a copy of a insurance policy that is also a requirement in order for the license to be issued. And on that basis, they obtained the license, and therefore the decision was taken to reopen the establishment. And I want to make the point that what took place in terms of managing the incident at Ritz Cafe was just one portion of the measures that the government have when anyone, individuals or establishment, violates the protocol.
Minister Mackenzie pointed out that charges have been laid against individuals associated with Ritz Cafe.
I would like to also advise the country that other actions have been taken against the management of Ritz Cafe. There has been questions as to whether or not the police have intervened in this matter. And I can say with certainty that charges have been brought following investigations and questions and answer sessions with the management of Ritz Cafe along with their attorneys, and that charges were laid yesterday against individuals associated with Ritz Cafe. I want to give the country the assurance that the government is acting in the best interests of the people of Jamaica.
Still tonight, in anticipation of the full reopening of the entertainment sector, the government has proposed a list of approved venues that will be made available at subsidized rates as a stimulus for the sector, which has been greatly impacted by the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. Now, this was disclosed by Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, the Honorable Olivia Grange, who said these venues will be retrofitted to comply with COVID-19 safety protocols.
The Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport has proposed a list of venues that can be retrofitted to comply with the proposed protocols. We will also be moving to declaring additional entertainment zones and venues. Additionally, as with the sports sector, the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport is offering to subsidize the use of these facilities as a stimulus for the entertainment sector, which we know has suffered because of the pandemic. These venues include facilities at Independence Park, Trelawney Stadium, the Port Royal Entertainment Zone, including Fort Rocky and Fort Charles, as well as Civil Heritage Park. We're still finalizing the arrangements while continuing consultations with stakeholders for the reopening of the wider entertainment sector, and will make the appropriate announcements soon.
The minister, who was making her contribution to the 2021 to 2022 sectoral debate in the House of Representatives yesterday, noted that the government is in preparation for the reopening of the wider entertainment sector.
Engage in consultations with members of the sector, as well as colleagues in the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the Ministry of National Security, the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, and the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management on the prevailing health conditions in the country, as well as the specific protocols that would have to be employed for particular activities. I thank the Prime Minister, Madam Speaker, for his involvement, for his guidance, and his support in the consultations. I could not do it without him. As with the resumption of sports, the resumption of entertainment will have to be a gradual process, and we will also have to consider capacity limits, as well as authorized venues where the necessary safety protocols can be implemented. So, Madam Speaker, I just want to say to the voices out there that we're going to have to work this through. And no matter what noise is made out there, we're going to ensure it's done the right way and the safe way. And I would say the majority of the members of the sector, they understand. So those who feel that they can make noise, trust me, we don't watch a noise in the market, we watch a sale. And so we will continue to stay focused, and we will reopen, but we're going to ensure we reopen at a time when it's safe to do so.
In the meantime, Minister Grange informed that while months were spent discussing and refining proposals for the safe reopening of the wider entertainment sector, the government has also been busy building the capacity of members of the sector.
We have spent months, Madam Speaker, discussing and refining proposals for the safe reopening of the wider entertainment sector. We have also been busy building the capacity of members of the sector to enable them to build back stronger. During Reggae Month, the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport hosted 4 business of entertainment symposia as part of our capacity building initiatives. Additionally, through the Creative Production and Training Center, we have provided scholarships to enable 6 audio engineers to upskill and receive certification. There's a transformative power in art which we want to unleash on communities across Jamaica.
Continuing with the news tonight. Persons 60 years and over who are fully vaccinated, as evidenced by the records at the Ministry of Health and Wellness, can apply for the conditional cash transfer for the vaccinated CCTV grant starting July 15, 2021. Now, this was disclosed by the Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark, who in a statement to the House of Representatives yesterday said that the program is to be administered digitally using the COVID-19 allocation of resources for employees care program platform.
This pandemic does not end in Jamaica until a large majority of persons in the over 60 population is vaccinated. It is in the public interest, therefore, Madam Speaker, that this segment of the population that is vulnerable to COVID-19 is fully vaccinated. Madam Speaker, through the Serve Jamaica program, we intend to build on the CARE program infrastructure to provide an incentive for those persons 60 and over to become fully vaccinated. In my opening budget presentation, Madam Speaker, I announced a conditional cash transfer for the vaccinated, which will pay an incentive of $10,000 to persons 60 and over who have been fully vaccinated through the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Madam Speaker, as I indicated just now, and I indicated in my budget presentation, there's a public interest in ensuring that this population is protected. And Madam Speaker, just to remind you of some of the details from the Ministry of Health, as of the 5th of June, and Madam Speaker, just to remind you of some of the details from the Ministry of Health, as of the 5th of June, 159,615 Jamaicans received the first shot of the vaccine. Of that number, 42,254 were in the group age 60 and over. But of that number, as at June 5th, 7,052 have received the second shot.
Dr. Clark also urged fellow members of Parliament to encourage persons within this age group to get vaccinated.
This is something that the government needs to do to provide an extra incentive for people to go and be vaccinated. But that alone is not enough. We need the collaboration and cooperation of all members of Parliament here in your constituencies to encourage, and here I'm speaking as if, I'm endorsing what the Minister of Health drive, because I want to see the economy open up. The restrictions don't go until this vulnerable population is no longer vulnerable. Right? So in addition to what we're doing here, we encourage members of Parliament to encourage your constituents who are in this demographic to sign up and help them to sign up for the grant. And that's $10,000 they'll get. In a single household, in a single yard, you might be able to have 6, 7, 8 people, each getting $10,000. And with your assistance, as you did with the CARE program last year, I'm confident that it will be successful. Now, Madam Speaker, there's a modification to what, in my budget presentation, we had said we would limit it to those with income 1.5 million or less. But that created some confusion, Madam Speaker, as if this was a social program, and we were tying a social program with vaccination. And so, how could you tie a social? No. That's not what this is. This is not a social program. This is an incentive to be vaccinated. That is what it is.
To apply, persons aged 60 and over will need to log on to www.wecare.gov.jm and provide their first and last names, tax registration number TRN, and or their government-issued identification, date of birth, mobile telephone number to which they have access, an email address, and the vaccination type and batch numbers. For those applicants who are physically unable to get to the remittance company, third-party collection will be accommodated. Customer service queries will be handled by the Ministry of Finance and the Public Services Customer Care Team, which can be contacted at 1-888-493-2273. Still making the news tonight, clinical coordinator at the Cornwall Regional Hospital, CRH in St. James, Dr. Delroy Frey, says persons that are fully vaccinated should still observe all health protocols.
My view about this is that if you are fully vaccinated, you have had your second dose, 2 weeks have passed, you still should observe all the protocols. And the reason for that is we're still not sure, and I think it would be best to wear the mask and to maintain the protocols in the same way that was originally stated. It would take time for us to study this to see what is going to happen. I think it probably will take up to a year to look at the data and to see how we proceed from here. And I think it will be safe to still wear the mask and to sanitize and to minimize overcrowding without a flicker of a doubt. I think you can still get the virus, but you'll be better able to fight the disease that comes from the virus. The studies have shown that once you are vaccinated, the hospitalization and the severity of the disease is much less than a person who is not vaccinated.
Dr. Frey also elaborated on healthcare workers at the hospital taking the COVID-19 vaccine.
Most of our doctors, from just talking to them, would have taken the vaccine, and a good number of the nurses as well. But let's look at the data. Before vaccine, we usually have, like, I checked with Matron this morning, like 20 nurses off on quarantine. This morning, after vaccination, this morning we have like 2 nurses off. And I think that is significant, although small data that tells that the vaccination is doing something. Taking the vaccine gives protection. The question is how long it will give the protection. No one knows that yet, and I think we'd have to wait a year down the road to see how that happens. But taking the vaccine will minimize hospitalization. It will minimize you going into a critical aspect of COVID crisis. And I believe it's absolutely necessary that we should endeavor to ensure that the vaccine is given and patients take the vaccine to minimize or to stop this pandemic. That is our best chance, along with the other measures that are in place. Well, the hospitalization has dropped, but it's too early to tell if it's totally to the vaccine, because there are other measures, as you know, the curfew, etc., that has been in place. But from our healthcare workers, I've mentioned earlier, we have seen a significant difference in the number of our healthcare workers who were on quarantine or who was infected with the virus.
Meanwhile, in response to questions regarding the hospital not having a burn unit to treat patients, Dr. Frey had this to say.
When you are burned, it requires very intensive care. And ideally, one should have a burn unit. But recently at Cornwall Regional Hospital, as you are aware, we had a patient with over 90% burn. In any jurisdiction, that patient would have a higher risk of death. And our team here at Cornwall Regional Hospital, led by Dr. Jeffrey Williams, a renowned plastic surgeon who has worked here for years, looked after that patient successfully and kept that patient alive for over a week. And it was after a week that she was able to transfer to a burns unit abroad. I think this is testimony of the excellent care that can be given if you are prepared to work with the burns unit patient. The burns patient, you can set up a temporary burn unit which consists of an isolated area with dedicated nursing staff, anesthetists, because sometimes it requires sedation to dress this wound. And I believe that case is a perfect example of what we can do under the circumstances. And I wanted this to be highlighted at the time, but it's somewhere slip everyone. But I think I want to highlight it to congratulate our team here, who I believe did an excellent job with that patient.
Dr. Frey, in speaking on the issue of patients with gunshot wounds, appealed to persons in Western Jamaica to cut down on the anger and find better ways to resolve issues.
When I heard about the increase in gunshot incidents, I look at the data. And 2020, between May and June, we saw 32 patients being treated in our A&E department. And for the same period, 2021, we saw 30. So it's more or less the same. But I should tell you that the patients who die wouldn't present to us, and they wouldn't be in our statistics. So these are patients who comes to the A&E and have been treated. So between last year and this year, it's more or less the same, about 30 between the same period of time. And I still make an appeal that if we were to treat these patients are unnecessary injuries, if these were taken out of the system, and as I've said before, one of these patients can take you 5-6 hours in operating theater, and the recovery time they can spend weeks on the ward in ICU. And if you were to cost something like that, that's an enormous cost that could have been prevented. So again, we make an appeal, please cut down the anger and, try to control yourself, because these injuries can be avoided. And we impress upon the public to engage in more useful conversation in order to settle their dispute. It is important. It's a burn in our health dollar, and we want to use it for better use for our patients.
We now go to news from St. James, where the National Water Commission, NWC, continues their work to fix collapsed sewer mains in the Mount Salem area of Montego Bay. Communications manager at the company, Andrew Cannon, says the recent rains have affected the work being done.
Communities, businesses, and residents that are adjoined to the Mount Salem main road in Montego Bay, they are being affected by repair work to address collapsed sewer mains. And these collapsed sewer mains are affecting the roadway. All right. Now, the Cornwall Regional Hospital, or the Cornwall Regional Health Facilities, and the Mount Salem Police Station are among the main entities that are being affected. So both vehicular and pedestrian traffic would have to move at a rather careful pace where the work is being done. Now, all of this work is being adversely affected by the intermittent showers. So although the NWC is doing some backfilling of the area where the sewer mains have collapsed, it is being washed away by the heavy rains.
Mr. Cannon further pointed out that motorists traversing this area will also experience delays.
Now, this Mount Salem main road is also connected to other major roadways in the area, so motorists in that section of Montego Bay will inevitably experience delays as the works are necessary and urgent to deal with the collapsed sewer mains. It's good news, though, for one section of the road, for the one section of the work, because we have completed the sewer pipelines. All right, so the sewer pipelines, they have been implemented or installed on both sides. What is giving us problems now would be the permanent reinstatement that needs to be done. And this permanent reinstatement that needs to be done, it is as a result of the collapsed sewer mains. So we are trying to rectify that as quickly as we can.
Still making the news, the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, is seeking the public's assistance to locate a child seen in a recent viral video declaring his plans to become a gunman. Now, noting the agency's mandate to provide care and protection for children who are high risk or otherwise deemed to be in need of care and protection, the CPFSA said the video speaks to possible exposure to moral harm and danger, which, according to the Child Care and Protection Act, CCPA 2004, is a child protection concern. Individuals with information are being asked to contact the agency by calling 876-469-4100 or by texting or sending a WhatsApp message to 876-878-2882, that's 876-878-2882, or by sending an email to info@childprotection.gov.jm. The agency can also be contacted via its social media platforms. And those are some of the stories making news tonight. We will return with other stories as the Portmore police arrested one man and seized an illegal firearm during an operation in Garveymead, Bridgeport, St. Catherine yesterday. And the St. Catherine police have identified the woman who died after a minibus in which she was traveling plunged into a section of the Rio Cobre River in Bogwalk, St. Catherine yesterday morning as 59-year-old Valerie Ennis of White House Housing Scheme Linstead. But first, we'll now go to a break and then join Christopher Scott with the very latest in sports.